I think there's a numbness, nothing is absorbed because you're trying to move away from the pain. And when we move away from something or don't allow something in, also something isn't allowed out. So those two worlds, it was like I really put up a lot of walls around me to protect myself. And I had an outward appearance of everything was okay, but inside there was a lot of suffering. And I felt there was not only sadness, but also anger.
Welcome to The Deep Coach, the podcast where we explore the transformational journeys that shape us and that propel us to change the world. I'm your host, Jonathan Edmida, and in each episode, we sit down with those who have journeyed into the depths of spiritual transformation and who are now reshaping the world through their presence and their work. In listening to these incredible human beings, you'll find insight, inspiration, and practical tools to support your journey as a coach and as a human being. My guest today is Anamargret Sanchez. Anamargret is a global citizen of Jamaican, Cuban, and German heritage and a well-established wellness professional in South Florida and across the globe. Her multifaceted professional and spiritual training informs her work as a yoga teacher, transformational coach, and ketamine integration specialist. This woman is an absolute powerhouse. She's a deep, spiritual soul with incredible wisdom who has truly walked the walk. In this conversation, we get into the ways she numbed herself from emotion early on in life, how the loss of her mother and the lack of availability of her father, who was the Prime Minister of Jamaica, made her feel angry and abandoned. Then we get into her journey into her light and how yoga eventually brought her into wholeness and connection with herself, perhaps for the very first time. We also talk about her experience as a ketamine facilitator, and I share the unknowing impact she had on me when I was early on in my transformational journey. So I did meet her. She did not remember me or meet me. I was young at the time, and I'll share more in this episode. Enjoy. Anamargret, it is so wonderful to be here with you. I'm going to share a story later with everybody on how we go way back, and that'll be a little touch point. But before we get there, you are a very well-known, very established yoga teacher. You've been practicing, I think, for 30 years, more or less. You're a transformational coach. You're a ketamine facilitator, which we'll get into. Before all of that, who would you say Anamargret Sanchez was prior to the onset of your own transformational journey?
Let's see. Anamargret was a little lost and disconnected, I would say. My a lot of my old stories that I feel have transformed now were you know, there was like a touch, a bigger than a touch of unworthiness, of being disconnected from myself, of not feeling like I belonged in this world. And it took me a long time to kind of land in my body, land in the space, and understand that I have a purpose.
Mm.
But it took me a little while to get there.
I'd love to hear a little bit around what that actually looked like, to the degree that you're open to sharing. What were, as a young girl, I know you have German, Jamaican, Cuban heritage, and I'm sure that kind of plays into a little bit of the cultural hodgepodge that you experienced inside and not feeling here or there, but also feeling everywhere at once. What was it like to be you as a young girl, young woman, any stage that you most relate to when you're speaking to this?
Well, when I think about it, kind of my origin story is the foundation for that kind of disembodiment. So I was born to unmarried parents, so that was already you know like a stigma, I would say, like cultural stigma. And then my dad was Prime Minister of Jamaica, so there was a lot of kind of hiding, because like hiding my identity and hiding his identity, because again, they weren't married, so there was like a little shame involved, I would say, around my birth, not by my immediate family, but just right outside the circle, not necessarily spoken but felt. Kids, we don't really know what's going on, but we know something is off. And then my mom she died when I was 5.5. So that left me in a place of abandonment, feeling abandoned. And I also felt enraged with God, like that God took her from me. and also that I did something to deserve that. So that already kind of set up a platform. While I'm feeling this on one side, I have to say that on the other side, there was so much love for me in my immediate family, and I felt a little almost like guilty that my grandmas had to raise me. I felt this burden, and of course, later on, I find, that's my story in my little girl head. And later I find out that basically it was like a second life for them to be able to raise me and to have a piece of my mom still there with them. But, when you're a kid, everything you take on, you're the center. So everything is around you, the good and the bad. So I just felt, you know, just, I don't know, this certain burden that they had to take care of me. And I behaved super well. I was a very well behaved child, because I wanted everything to be okay. I didn't want to be thrown out of the tribe. So I felt I was also contracted in that way. And I wasn't really, I wouldn't say not allowed to express grief, but when I did, they would immediately try to shut it down. They didn't want to see me hurt. So I understand. And also, I'm sure that they could not maybe accept all that hurt themselves. Like, the grieving was intense and it was a little bit sad in my home. Definitely sad inside of me.
Yeah. How did that develop as you entered into young womanhood? Of that feeling of holding your emotions back, of not feeling abandoned, of feeling like a burden. What did that then look like as you were becoming a woman in your life?
I think there's a numbness, nothing is absorbed because you're trying to move away from the pain. And when we move away from something or don't allow something in, also something isn't allowed out, so that those two worlds, it was like, I don't know, I really put up a lot of walls around me to protect myself. And I just, I had an outward appearance of everything was okay, but inside I feel like there was a lot of suffering and I felt there was not only sadness, but also anger,
Yeah.
and wishing things to be different.
Yeah.
So contentment came much later, but in those years, yeah. And plus I left Jamaica when I was little and I was told we were going to go back and we never did. So I was really upset about that because my mom is buried there. My dad was there and all my, everything I knew that was close to my mom and part of that life was there.
Mm.
And then we came here to Miami. And in Jamaica, we had land, we had animals, like pets, we had trees. And here I was, lived by the airport in a little apartment. I could only play like where they could see me right there. So my life really contracted when we moved here.
Why did they make that decision to move?
Because things were getting hectic in Jamaica, and the person that became prime minister after my dad, he had gone to Cuba and was friends with Fidel Castro. So people got really scared that we were going to be another communist island. And things were a little violent there. They tried to assassinate my dad and, but again, it was supposed to be temporary, but here I am in my
Fully established. The roots haven't taken
well
shape.
rooted.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. What was the breaking point for you then? You came into Miami, you're feeling just like a shell of yourself, and you're kind of just confined, both physically, but also emotionally, psychologically, maybe spiritually. What broke then for you to start asking deeper questions and exploring deeper truths?
Well, I have to say, in first of all, my godmother was very, she believed in, for lack of a better word, like magic and the esoteric world. So she believed in dreams and ghosts and stuff like that. So I was introduced to that. There was like a flavor of that throughout my upbringing. And then in high school, I read Siddhartha, and that sparked a little something in me. So after that, it was, I really, although I loved fiction, I also loved philosophy and I loved anything that was, I guess, anything that wasn't like the real world. that gave me a glimpse that there was other possibilities and other realms. So that kind of opened me up.
And you got curious. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what else is not only out there, but what else is in here? How can I tap into that? And I did that in good ways and bad ways. So I did have my party years, and you know, I I was misbehaved a little bit. Um, but even in my party years and all that stuff, there I was still seeking. I still remember uh, even after clubs and all that stuff, like sitting with a friend and just discussing spirituality and what God meant and the divine. And so it was really interesting that even though I use these things to escape the pain, it also opened me to have these conversations that were a little more vulnerable and a little bit off left center. It gave me that space to be able to inquire more.
Yeah. Yeah. I relate so deeply to that. I had a similar experience growing up here in Miami. You can't escape the party scene, but then once you're sort of on a certain track, you're asking deeper questions, but you have one foot in one door, one foot in the other. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then at what point did your lifestyle start changing as a result of the decisions you were making or the things that you were exploring?
I would say, and I also want to say, like, there's a pause button somewhere inside of me. I don't know what it is that only allowed me to get so far into trouble.
Mm,
And then, like, parts of me knew I don't want to really go down that road. So when I started practicing yoga more and being more embodied and reading like the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Sutras and other philosophies, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I've really been waiting for all my life. Like, to understand these concepts, that there's conversations to be had, that there are divine natures and energies and stuff that even though I didn't see it, I felt it. Like, I knew somewhere in me there was a knowing. So these really answered a lot of those questions, made me question more, answered things. It was such a beautiful coming together and moving in my body in that way, in a slower way, being able to rest as well. So it's not only movement, but like Shavasana was such a release, especially when I was taking care of my caretakers, when it was my turn to caretake them. That was the only place that I could go and in a way grieve,
mhm.
like, and be authentic with the pain that I couldn't show them and the fear that I couldn't really show them because I was trying to make their journey easier, you know.
Specifically in that pose in Shavasana?
Yeah.
That okay.
That's from There were other things that moved me, but Shavasana was where everybody had their eyes closed. I
Mm,
could put something over my eyes and just let those tears flow.
mm.
And I still remember even my belly like jumping, because you're trying not to make noise, but the pain and the release was so deep. And Shavasana held me in that space.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like your journey inward was almost like step by step, and one thing led to the other, and you kind of went deeper into yoga. And I'm sure every sort of class you took and every piece of literature that you read, it just kept taking you a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. And at what point did you realize this is what you want to dedicate your life to?
When I realized how it got me through the deaths, because both my grandmas passed away within a year of each other. And it was like, I don't know how I would have done that without not just the physical practice, but the philosophical aspect to it. The Jnana Yoga, was really, really important to me. And understanding also even, the karmas, like that everybody has their own karmic experience, so it helped me understand that my mom dying wasn't personal. That was her karma and our karma together. That my dad not being able to take care of me because I did have resentment, like, I don't care that he's prime minister, I want a father. And when I went back for his funeral, which was a state funeral, I realized, wait, my dad was not a father for individuals. He was a father of a country. And that was really, really healing. And I feel like I could only have understood that I could only have understood that through a karmic lens, through that kind of yogic lens that we're here to share space, but they're still, even though they're our parents, they're still individuals. having
Mm.
their own experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's really eh, the embodiment of the explore, because what happens, it sounds like for you, is that as you went deeper into your body, you went deeper into your emotions. As you went deeper into your emotions, it unlocked connections and memories to those that you love, that then the space itself gave you the space to process it, to have it move through you, right?
Yes.
To digest it fully,
To digest it and also to be with it,
to be.
right? To be with the discomfort, to be with the grief, to be with the sadness. It's not just the light. That's what I thought in the very beginning, right? Like, oh, like this is great. I don't have to go through the shadows.
Right.
I'm just going to be in the light. And it was, that was okay. But I got to the light and that was beautiful, but it supported the shadow work that I did later. I didn't
Mm.
do that right away. You know, right away it was like, oof, this is really nice. And I really cultivated a strong relationship with the divine and the light within. Like it's so solid now. We don't have any fights anymore. I used to feel abandoned by the divine. And I was like, oh no, I abandoned God. It wasn't the
Yeah.
other way around.
Right. Right.
And then that gave me the courage and the strength to go into the places that are really uncomfortable
Mm.
and that where the juice is in a way, that friction happens. Because the light, it's like, woo, that's like the way, that's what happens after. But how do we get there? And at first it was like I was going around it, and then it was like, oh no, I have to sit in it for a little bit. And I'm
Yeah.
going to sit in it. Yeah.
Was it solely yoga that invited you deeper into your shadow, or were there other support mechanisms or areas that you?
Therapy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Touche.
I'm for therapists, like for sure,
Yeah.
because they could hear things that I said or didn't say, and it was like, let's look into that. Like you just skipped right over that.
Right.
I would say it like super nonchalantly. You
Yeah.
know, my grandmother's. My mom died, and this happened as if nothing, and they're like, no, let's rewind. So yeah, definitely other things. Journaling, um, coaches have helped me. I've done medicine. All those things have definitely just help me evolve more and transform.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like when you stepped into being a teacher full time?
Scary. I still remember my first class, and for I would say over 5 years, every class, I'm not kidding, Jonathan, I did stick figures for. I
Meaning what?
drew out I drew out the class. This is the sequence. Okay. Like
Yeah.
super nerdy. Like
Yeah.
this is the theme or this is the direction, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, and being a teacher, I mean, I feel like I'm a teacher second, but a student first. And then I don't even like to say teacher. I like to say someone who shares. I share the knowledge of how I understand it, of how it's helped me. And I feel like that's how I transmit best, like through my experiential knowledge, not theoretical.
Yeah. When did you start finding some confidence there in the front of the yoga room or the yoga shala?
Well, you know, when I also allowed the downloads to come through class,
Mm.
that were not, I didn't try and write that. Had not written that down or it wasn't planned. But the more open I became, the more I felt connected with myself. It's like things came through me that, a student would come up after, whether it was right after class or wrote me later or even years later and said what a difference I had made for them or how safe they felt in my class. Those things just started building up my confidence. Like, wow, yeah, I have something to offer here. And plus my love of yoga. Like if nothing else, it's not me, but it's the practice itself that is so powerful. And I was really happy to be able to share that. And I had great teachers, I have to say. I really was lucky.
Yeah. What do most people mistake or get confused about yoga as a whole?
That it's really hard and it's only about the poses. Like they feel it's just a really physical practice and they can't do it. So if I have any gift at all in yoga, It's that I allow people, everybody feels like they can do something in my class. Everybody feels welcome. And I learned a lot how to modify classes because I have a lot of private students. So being one on one with people taught me how to really look at a body, how to apply it to the person, not the pose, right? What do you need? How does your body want to move in this way? So that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it about the poses in particular that and the movements and the flows that create so much power when done perhaps in a certain sequence or perhaps done consistently, intentionally? What is it about yoga as a whole that is so helpful?
I think it awakens our energy of potential, especially because we can look at it in an egoic way, right? Like, wow, I can do this really fancy pose. Or we can look at it through the lens of, wow, I was so scared to do this. I never thought I could do it. And here I am.
Yeah.
And that builds one's confidence as well in their own capabilities and shows us how our limitations can be expanded and stretched. And we can go beyond our self imposed limitations and get beyond that. And that's super exciting for anybody. Like, wow, I could do this. This
Hmm.
is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some of these other sort of avenues that you support coaching, ketamine therapy. They all seem to kind of touch at a different aspect of a person in a sense. It's one is the body, one is, generally speaking. I mean, we can, coaching, especially the deep coaching work that we do is very spirit based, very soul based, and it is psyche based as well. You're navigating things, the language, the words.
Yeah.
Ketamine has a way to cut through. It sounds like you kind of created an arsenal, so to speak, of the full of creating a full integrated fully integrated human, and all the different aspects of that one might that can support someone in navigating whatever it is, wherever it is that they're storing things in the nooks and crannies of one's being, you know?
Yeah. For sure. Because I think we all have moments of disconnection, but right now, and I know you've probably talked about it before, experienced it, we're like super disconnected in a way. It's hard for people to even look at each other in the eyes. So the yoga practice, yes, like helps you to be more embodied. The meditation quiets you enough. And then the coaching, especially deep coaching, really speaks to so many aspects, even attuning to each other, spiritual partnership, being in that space together. And to me, that also kind of lights up those centers that we, on an everyday basis, or like even in a regular coaching session, we might not be that open to or try to cultivate. But with deep coaching, it's like, yeah, that's part of our sequence.
Yeah,
And that's part of what resonated with me. It was like, oh my gosh, this is a spiritual practice unto itself.
yeah. It
It's so
really is.
special.
It really
Mhm.
is. For somebody who's unfamiliar, what is ketamine?
It's an anesthesia that they use in hospitals every day. That's real. I'm
That's
like,
the
you
short of
really,
it. Yeah. Fair.
but what they found was that it creates neural pathways in the brain, in the mind. And when I heard that, I was like, wait a minute, why does this seem familiar to me? And I realized in yoga philosophy, there's something called samskaras. And samskaras are grooves in the mind from repetition, right? And our routines. And I don't want to say that every routine is bad because some routines are really good, but when they're not serving us anymore, we can kind of get stuck in that pathway, in those pathways. So it helps also to, because it's a dissociative, ketamine is dissociative. It's not technically a hallucinogenic. So it kind of gives you a space between you and the pain, whether it's physical or emotional pain. And of course, the doctor I work with, she wanted me to have an experience. And when I had it, I was like, whoa, this is witness consciousness. Like what I've been sitting at my altar for over 20 years trying to get to, ketamine was like, here's a shot.
Right.
I don't know if people would recognize it as that, but I did. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, I can be here and observe the pain, but not be the pain. That's
Mm,
different. It
yeah.
felt very,
And in what ways are you supporting people that come to use ketamine? Because it is in a contained environment with a doctor, and it's done in a sort of clinical setting, right?
yeah, it's clinical. I mean, set and setting is everything. And I wish we had like a beautiful retreat center we could do it. But once you put your eye shades on and have the music, you can be
Yeah,
anywhere.
you're gone.
Like, it doesn't matter. But sometimes I literally will hold people's hands if it's their first time, or I'll sit in the office with them. I also call them and prepare them. We do breath work. We create an intention together. I get a little bit of their history, but more like how would they like to move forward?
Hmm.
Not just the past, right? They might have a therapist for that, but how would you like to move forward? And then I help coach them in between. So, um, hearing about what their journey was about, what they got out of it, what they felt about it. We have certain questions that we send them, like questionnaires, and just kind of like homework. They don't have to do everything, but kind of just to start for them to start thinking in a different way and being curious about themselves, not through the lens of pain, but through the lens of possibility. So it's like, oh, whoa. I mean, I felt, and I see people too, like it's interesting because joy can almost scare them, or letting go of what's familiar, letting go of the pain, which they've known for so long. It's like, who am I without the pain? And I experienced that myself, like my capacity for joy, I had to increase it slowly because it could almost feel threatening to a nervous system that's been hypervigilant.
Mm.
And it's like, ooh, 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 that's too much. Like, I like to be down here, but this is like vibrating up here,
Yeah.
the frequency.
Yeah.
So little by little, you just grow your capacity to hold that frequency.
Mm. I mean, that was my journey. It's funny, of all the emotions out there, joy was one of the ones that I was most, in some regards, afraid of, unwilling to, or unable to really hold and be with for long periods of time. And like you said, it's a journey of expanding your capacity to be with it, and sort of find a new baseline, because then there's a part of the psyche that wants to bring you back to the familiar, like you're mentioning. And that is the work of healing. You're healing those old grooves, those old patterns that hold you down in those lower states, so to speak.
Yeah, because yeah, and you know, and sometimes what I realized too, like sometimes if I can't feel joy, like the other day I was journaling and it's like, I'm not feeling joy, so it's like, well, what can I feel? What would I like to feel instead if it
Yes.
can't be joy? And it was like, oh, I want to feel awe. I want to feel inspired. Um, I want to feel in community. So it's also like where, not like gripping, like I have to feel joy all the time because
Yeah.
we can't be there all the time either.
Okay.
Right. So understanding that it's not linear and you don't stay there and get attached to that feeling. Attachment is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
because we get attached to all the feelings. Oh, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling depressed, and then we're holding on to it and creating a story around it. I'm feeling worried, I'm anxious, and then we just ruminate on it, give it more energy, give it more life, right? But if we can be light with it, let it go in the moment, come back to what, this is where yoga comes in, right? Coming back into our body, coming back to our breath, feeling this moment here. That kind of creates a new baseline, and we start to discover what else might be possible in this precise moment.
exactly. And I have, I feel like I have enough maybe experience now that I can also, if I need to feel sad, I can feel sad.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? If I need to feel angry, there's sacred anger. When I look at the pantheon of the goddesses, like, they're cutting heads and they're fierce. They're not just,
Yeah.
braiding their hair and chanting. They're doing a lot of other things. So there's sacred anger and just being real. I think being authentic in oneself is important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How long is a ketamine experience?
You mean one journey?
Yeah, the journey that you guide, that you're there with somebody.
Oh, it's about an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of people are making the decision to do this? What are they seeking? What kind of healing are they looking for?
A lot of them, it's interesting because a lot of them have been on antidepressants for over 20 years. And they're like, it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I know because you're numb and
Right.
you're not feeling anything. So we
Yes.
have to, if you're willing to, go a little bit into those places so that we can move through it and not around it. And antidepressants are so helpful. I'm not poo pooing it at all. But when we don't do any work, when it's just like, I'm going to take this pill and I'm just going to recite my old stories, it doesn't move. It doesn't move us forward.
Totally.
It keeps really stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things work and are helpful until they aren't,
Right.
and
Right. And have all ages. I mean, we have people that are 20, and I just had someone who's 86. That's so
wow,
it's beautiful that at 86 you're willing to change,
it's
to
incredible.
explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the most impressive experiences that you've seen or witnessed in somebody else?
Well, that they don't come back. That's our goal. It's like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
like you're healed enough, but seeing people awaken to themselves and the best of themselves is such a beautiful part of this job. It's so gorgeous. And the other day, someone again sent a text and said, thank you so much, because what I realize is that I can feel the things that I feel that hurt, but I don't have to stay in that place anymore.
Mm.
So to hear somebody regain their hope, regain possibility, and all that is like, that's that. If that's my legacy, I am really, really happy. Like
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah.
If I
I
can
mean,
share that.
I mean, in so many ways, you create containers of possibilities in all the work that you do. That's what you are. And the curiosity I have is, how do you maintain that bandwidth to be able to be that container of possibility for so many people that you work with, whether in yoga and coaching, in the ketamine therapies?
Well, I think some of it I was born with, to be honest. Like I have an innate almost optimism, that is in there. And plus I've just honed that skill a lot, the capacity, right, for myself and my own experiences. I feel like I've created a space that everybody feels welcome and witnessed. Like there's not really judgment, because I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, I've experienced a lot. So I'm like, give me your story. I'm okay with that. And I practice, it's not like I practice holding that. I practice not just meditation, but breath work. So the breath is so important because the breath also taught me that the breath is the first thing actually that showed me that I could not contain the energy because I couldn't hold my inhales, which is life force. It's not just oxygen. It is prana. It's life force. So little by little, I started, holding longer and doing more breath work workshops and just learning how to play with that. And that's a big key.
Mm.
So, and when I'm full, and I know when I'm full because I wake up and I'm thinking about patients or clients, like I
Yeah.
know I'm there. So now I know how to take care of myself. I'll take a few days and go somewhere. And I put myself through a silent retreat a couple months ago. I got off social media for those days. I journal every day, almost every day, I should say. I meditate daily. Um, I do art. That was something kind of new. After our retreat last year, the muse was just on fire, the muse in me. And she's like, let me out, let
Uh,
me out. And
yeah.
when I started doing watercolors, I got a flute. Those things like started feeding the creative outlet. And that filled me. That fills me a lot, a
Uh,
lot. Gives me
no,
a lot of,
yeah, that's so beautiful. I was hinting at the beginning that you and I go way back. And, for those that, which is everybody actually that doesn't know the backstory. Well, they know my backstory a bit. If you've read, if not, go to that episode. But early on in my journey, I was just seeking out avenues for my own healing, while I was here in Miami still. And back in 2009, 2010, there's not many opportunities, options available in terms of how to begin tapping into oneself here in the city. One of those places was this lovely little yoga studio in Coral Gables, Florida. And you were at the front of that classroom often for me. And I was there in the back, and you were one of my introductions to yoga. And I remember your classes fondly. And so just last year, a year ago, I see, as now the managing director of the center, I see a name come in, Anamargret Sanchez, which isn't necessarily it could be a common name here in Miami, but the combination is quite unique, Anamargret Sanchez, and one that I recognize quite readily. And I look you up, I see your face, and I'm like, holy crap, I hadn't seen this woman's face in, I don't know, 15 years, whatever it was. And then we connected at the retreat, and it just felt like such a full circle moment for me in my journey to be holding that space in that container for you when you had held a container so often for me back in the day. So I wanted to share that story because there is that unique connection that you would never have known of. It's not, I'm just one person of of many in a random yoga class on a random Tuesday night, kind of thing.
Well,
But
I
there,
just when I saw you at the retreat and you shared that, and I felt, because the retreat I was going back and forth, should I or shouldn't I? And everybody's like, everybody in my, like, in my soul is like, you're doing this. And when
yeah,
you shared that story, it was like, that's a synchronicity that reminds me of the magic of this world.
yes,
Like, it's random, but it's not at the same time. And it was so reassuring. And I knew I had landed in the right place. I knew something so beautiful was going to come out of not just a retreat, but going forward. And here we are a year and a month later having a conversation.
unbelievable. And so much has happened in this year and in 1 month. Given, yeah, in terms of how deep you've gotten into this work, can you share a little bit about, from the retreat into the deep coaching intensive into, you've just you've been diving in, you've been going in.
It's wild. So, first of all, the book, A Shift in Being, was on my shelf for like 2 years. And then last January, I opened it and I started reading it, and it was like, huh? I, I can't even, words are not, I can't even find the word to explain what it did. It just kind of broke something open. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. I couldn't put it down. Then I nerded out and I was like, if you were to see my book, it's just all full of tent. It's like I might as well have just dipped it in a highlighter fluid
The whole book
because everything was like
just
popping out,
the whole book
popping
is a
out.
takeaway. Yeah.
It's- I don't know how Leon, something was downloaded through that man. That's all
No
I
question.
know.
No question.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I wonder what else they do. So I look it up and it's like, oh, our first North American retreat or whatever in Sebastian, Florida.
Yeah.
I'd chosen. Now I knew Kashi, the sister property, because I had done retreats there,
Incredible.
facilitated retreats, but this was the other side. I'm like, how much more convincing do you need, Anna? Okay, so I paid for it. And then I run into you and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing. And then I come back and now I'm watercoloring, I'm fluting, I'm just, I don't even know if that's a word, but that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. We'll go with it.
If two or more people say it, it becomes a
Yeah,
word.
there you go. Fluting. We're going with it. People are here.
And then I take the DCI in
Yeah.
the summer. And I have to say it was a big deal because it was on Wednesday nights and I work all day, right? And I get home at 5 or 6. DCI was at 8 p.m. And for 6 months, I did not miss a class. I was so invested, so immersed. It was it was everything that I needed to experience, to hear, to break through. Even though, yes, I stand in front of a class of sometimes over 100 people, there's a shy side to me. So, believe it or not, going to the small, like triad or dyads, was intimidating. you know, speaking out loud about things that felt more vulnerable rather than, oh, this is a philosophy I've read, like really being authentic felt very vulnerable for me.
Mm.
But it also just broke things open and rewired me.
And now you're on a podcast.
And now,
About your life. There you
and
go.
now I'm saying a lot of out loud.
Talk about healing right here. Look at that. Look at the final result.
I know. It's just
Yeah.
the DCI, and it's not even, you don't have to want to be a coach.
Yeah.
It's really like a life transforming experience. It really is. That continues because I thought, oh yeah, okay, after I'm done, like I'll be transformed. No, that is continuing to evolve
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Evolve and deepen, certainly.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
You were mentioning a class of over 100 people. I mean, it got all the way up to what, 265? Was that the number?
I think it's 245.
245. A
Yeah.
yoga class that you've been running for 18 years in Legion Park here in Miami that started
And
with 20 people. You had a class of 245. Tell me about this class. Tell me about, where it started, how it evolved, the people that come through it. What a community offering, my God.
that has been the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I'm so proud of that class. And it started, I hate to say it, it started in a Starbucks, having cafecito with my friend. And I live close by to the park. And I was like, God, I love that park. But it was super run down. Nobody was really there. I'm like, I would like to teach a class because yoga can be expensive. It can be a little elitist. Um, and I don't know. I wanted to do something for the community here, that everybody could just, like, you didn't, there was, there was no exchange except we all want to be there together. That was it. And so we walk over with our coffees and I talk to the park manager and he's like, sure, just get a permit. You can do it. Like nothing. Like Jose Rilo.
Yes.
But
Very
he was proud
Miami.
of that
Yeah.
class too after a while.
Yeah.
So I did everything I needed to do. And again, like, I told a few people, so like 20 people came and gradually just word of mouth, it started growing. And, then it was like, wow, we have 50 people. And then one of my students, once it got big enough, he's like, I can't hear you. So he got me like a little speaker thing and all that's like a voice amplifier so people could hear me. And it's just grown organically. And I've seen what's really beautiful is seeing people like, pregnant women, and then they have the baby, then they bring the baby to class. Then the babies are big enough to sit on the mat with me to ohm. Then the babies now are like 14, 15, 16.
Incredible. Yeah.
They're yoga mom.
Right.
And it's like, this is so magical. I mean, it's just incredible. And that there's something that happens. We do it under oak trees. There's Spanish moss hanging down. There's birds, singing with us while we ohm.
Yeah.
And not only do we celebrate life, but we also have chanted and prayed for people that were sick, people that have transitioned to their next journey, wherever that might be.
Yeah.
So we've laughed and we've cried together. We've sung happy birthday. Everything has happened in that class. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. That class to me is representative of the evolution Miami has undergone. Because I was mentioning in 2009 to 2010, you had to like really search for pockets to find your people, to find spaces that were cultivating these kind of things. And Miami has evolved, has grown up, you can say, since then. Of course, there's the same old stuff. And it's just it really is a multifaceted city. There is something here for everybody. And the fact that there are 100 plus people going to a park to practice yoga together, infusing the city with that kind of energy. There are many of such pockets now that have sprouted up, intentional spaces that people, that have so much heart, that have so much soul in it,
Yes.
that have created an extra layer that I so deeply appreciate in the city that I grew up in, that I call home. I'm so grateful to people like you that have poured your hearts and souls into the city in this way, because it has so many ripple effects beyond the ones that we can see. not just the people that go off there, but like the energy also that transmits from this space.
100%. And even when it's a park. So now there's vendors and farmers market and
Yeah.
playground. So there's noise around us, but there's something contained within our circle
Yeah.
that's very special. And when you talk about ripples, that's what I realize, like the practice and the work that we do, it's not just like for us. It sends ripples into the past, it sends ripples into the future, into the now, and the way we drive, how we deal with people afterwards. It changes everything. And that's my job. That's my purpose.
Yeah. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous. How do you see your purpose being made manifest in the years to come? Any insights, visions? Are you just stepping into it day by day? How are you relating to that?
I'm day by day, and I also have come to understand that when something needs to happen, it will come to me.
Yeah.
I used to, a little part of me, like we all learn, like, okay, what do you want to manifest, right? You're the manifest.
Sure.
And a couple of years ago, I realized, I don't know if I'm the manifester or I'm the conduit
Right.
to the download from the divine
Yes.
and the inspiration. Like, I don't really think of it, it comes to me.
Yeah.
And then I get to choose whether I do it or not. Well, when it's strong enough, it's not letting me go. So I always pay attention to that one. I'm like, okay.
It's true. Yeah. When,
I'm,
yeah. Yeah. When you start living that way, life begins communicating through us.
yeah. And it's like a co-creation,
Yeah.
it's like such a beautiful relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the four, what's the motto? It's the four stages of power: life happening to me, life happening by me, life happening through me, life happening as me. Those different stages that one can go through. Most of the world is living in the life happening to me level of consciousness. You graduate to life happening by me and you have a certain power, right? That's really the place where goals and getting things done. And a lot of our world is built upon that go-getter energy, which is good for its purpose and its place. And we are evolving, I think, from that place and into a place of life happening through me. And I think that's part of still the manifesting energy is a little bit between by me and through me. But you're also speaking to life happening as me, right? Us being conduits, us being expressions of life itself, which
Exactly.
is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. And I myself try to live from that place every single day. I pray every single day, life God, please help me get out of my own way so that I can be the vehicle that you need me to be.
Mm, yeah.
Right? Just use me as you need me. I'm here. I'm here. And let me get out of my own way. Let the ego go. Let everything go. The resistances, the no betters, all that stuff.
Yeah. And even, I used to want to get rid of things. I wanted to get rid of my fear. I wanted to get rid
Right.
of my insecurity, whatever it was. And it's like,
Right.
just stick around, but I'm not going to live from you, but I'm not going to reject it either,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So relaxing that too and not pushing things away has, I don't know, it's just made things flow in a different way. And I'm more relaxed in myself and in, in who I am. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing to reject. It's like, no, and that might have served me at one point, but you can stick around. You don't have to go anywhere. But making these other parts stronger too, that were kind of squished, by
Totally.
those things that didn't serve me.
Totally. I mean, you were mentioning witness consciousness, where I was talking about you being the container that can hold so much, but you're not just holding others, you're holding yourself and the
Mhm.
various versions of yourself. And the more spacious we could be as that witness consciousness, the more the contracting energies can just be and can dissipate. And we open up to more of what, can be expressed through us as
Yes,
us.
exactly. They weaken, and also I don't live from those places. Not that they don't come up, but I don't live from them as long.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, like
Totally. That's it.
those, all right, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. That's it. They come and they go like everything else.
exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything that we haven't touched upon today that would be helpful to share, to bring up here?
Hmm. Trying to think if there's anything. I'm nothing, not any particular subject or anything. Just that, everything coexists, that saying, like there's no light without the darkness. is
Yeah,
really, really true. And I understand it and appreciate it so much from a lived experience.
that's right.
And that I can give myself permission to go into the darkness when I need to. And sometimes I just want to be in bed, curtains closed and cry a little bit. And
Yeah,
then it moves. That's the way I move through it
totally.
instead of around it.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. For somebody who's on their own transformational journey that's listening, what insight, advice, suggestion might you give them as they navigate their own transformational journey?
That this work is not done alone. I think that's really important. I tried to do for a few years alone, and we need support. We need the collective. And if you can be brave enough to be witnessed in all parts of you, it doesn't have to be with a lot of people, it can be with one or two people. That will make the journey much more beautiful um, than just like, I don't, than just trying alone. We just can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible. And we're interdependent. I mean, we're a collective. We're in this together. So, yeah, seek out seek out the right people. Doesn't have to be a lot, just the right ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And it starts with one conversation, one step, and then one thing leads to the other, leads to the other, on and on. Well, Anna Margaret, you have this regal goddess energy to you, and you have this earthy groundedness as well to you, which is, I love the total package that you are and appreciate you deeply and everything that you bring to this world and have brought to me. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself, and deeply appreciate you.
Thank you for letting me be in this space. And I'm just so happy that we reconnected. And I just want to acknowledge your beautiful soul too. You're so special, very, very special. And I'm just happy to share this time with you, not just right now, but in this world. I
Thank you.
really appreciate you.
Thank you, my friend. It means a lot. Thank you so much for being with us today. To learn more about today's guest, visit our podcast landing page at www.podcast.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. You'll find links to their website, social media, and anything else they might want to share there. And if you're curious to explore more about our work, our trainings, or the deep coaching approach, you'll find everything at www.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. A new episode of this podcast releases every 2 weeks, so please subscribe wherever you listen to stay up to date on each episode. Until next time, stay present, embrace love, and continue sensing into what life is calling you toward. See you soon.